सेव किया था ना?
मैं सिर्फ इसलिए गया था क्योंकि उसने मुझे कॉल किया, that's it. But listen though.
Save it for someone else.
जिंदगी में सेव करना जरूरी है, मगर जब बात पैसों की हो, सिर्फ सेविंग से काम नहीं चलेगा। इक्विटी म्यूचुअल फंड्स में इन्वेस्ट कीजिए और अपने सेविंग्स को आगे बढ़ने का मौका दीजिए।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
I'm with Amarjeet Singh Dulat, a former head of India's external intelligence agency, the R&AW, a former senior official of India's internal intelligence agency, the Intelligence Bureau. And today we have Mr. Dulat's book, A Life in the Shadows, his third book after a book that he wrote on the Vajpayee years when he was an advisor in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government in the Prime Minister's office at the time. And another book with Pakistan's former spy master Asad Durrani called The Spy Chronicles, and this is his third book. And it basically gives us the twin thrusts of Mr. Dulat's life, Kashmir and also Pakistan. So we will talk about this and many other subjects. Mr. Dulat, welcome to ThePrint.
Thanks a lot, Jyoti. It's always a pleasure.
So, interesting book. I've
Thank you.
But my question to you is, you talk about a lot of things. You talk about how intelligence gathering is perhaps the most interesting job in the world. I didn't say the oldest profession in the world. But the twin sort of passions that define you and your work, your life, Kashmir and, may I say, Pakistan.
Sure. Actually, everything, a lot of things in life happen quite accidentally. I was never supposed to really go to Kashmir. I had been posted in Bhopal, and normally our outstation postings was about 3 years, and I had done almost 4 years. Mm-hmm. So I was due to come back to headquarters. When out of the blue, I had got this proposal saying that would you be willing to go to
Srinagar.
To Srinagar. And although I bought a couple of days, I said, let me ask my wife. But the idea appealed to me immediately because staying out of headquarters, I enjoyed life in the outstation much more because you had a little bit of autonomy, not much. We don't have the kind of autonomy that the ISI has, but still you do. Here at headquarters, you're a cog in the machine. It just goes on and on and on. So therefore, when I was told to go to Srinagar, I went to Srinagar. And I thought, well, this sounds great, great place to work, and beautiful valley. It'll be a good holiday, good everything. And it began like that. It seemed like, very happy valley, but things went totally out of control.
You're talking about 1988?
88. I went there in the summer of 88. And then, the first bombs went off, I think, on the 31st of July. There was a bomb outside the Srinagar club and one at the Central Telegraph office. Before that, reports had started coming that there are boys coming, crossing over. And we used to have an old Kashmir hand in Srinagar. He was basically a JK police officer, Sapru. So I called Sapru Saab and I said, Sapru Saab, ye kya ho raha hai? He said, Saab, ye kuch nahi hai. Border crossing hota rehta hai Kashmir mein, aap fikr mat kariye. Then there was a statement a little month or so later by the Chief Minister, Dr. Abdullah, who made a remark in Anantnag or something saying that we have 100 militants in the valley. And suddenly Delhi sat up and said, what is your Chief Minister saying? So I went to Dr. Saab and I said, sir, you said there were 100 militants in the valley. And typical of Farooq, he said, did I say that? I said, that's what they say. So he said, even if I said it, it's all right. We'll take care of them. Mm-hmm. So at that point, nobody really understood or realized the gravity of the situation, and it got out of hand, out of control very, very fast. When I think back, that was a bad winter, the 89-90 winter.
Yeah.
when Rubaiya was kidnapped and killing started.
Mufti Muhammad Saeed's daughter, Rubaiya Saeed.
Yeah. And then the Pandit started getting targeted and all that. It was a bad winter, a terrible time to be there. But, then, the government changed, 89 here, VP Singh came, and Farooq sensed that they might make a change. They were gunning for him. Between, not VP Singh, but between Jagmohan, Mufti and R&AW, they were gunning for him, and he knew that. So he had warned Delhi that if you change the governor, General Krishna Rao was then the governor. If you change the governor, then you can send anybody. But if you send Jagmohan back, I will quit.
So you're talking about the Kashmiri Pandits who left, the exodus that we talk about, the ethnic cleansing of the Kashmiri Pandits.
I don't know whether cleansing is the right word, but yeah, they were targeted. Now, I've never had a satisfactory answer to why and who got them, who.
Why did they leave en masse? Thousands of...
Not only that, whose idea was it to target the Pandits? And I have spoken to some JKLF boys. And I said, this must have been the ISI's doing. And they said that, no, this was our own people decided.
What does that mean, our own people?
I mean, it was very convenient at that point of time to point towards ex-Pak Wani because he was dead. And indirectly, they also blamed Yasin.
Yasin Malik.
Yasin Malik. But the thing is that...
no, so Yasin Malik, JKLF, ex-Pak...
It was only JKLF at that time. There was no other militant.
Okay.
And that's the other point I'll come to. But so this... it was a bad time and...
but let me just ask you, so you don't think it was the ISI? Remember 89 when Rubaiya was...
That's the whole thing, yeah. I have not been able to point it there exactly, that it was the ISI. There is one theory, a JKLF boy told me that, when partition happened, a lot of Muslims had to leave Jammu. And so there was a lot of resentment among those Muslims who left. And some of them joined the army and some of them got into the ISI and things like that. So that resentment was there. But I don't think that is a satisfactory answer. I've searched for it for a long time, and the nearest that I can get to it is that there were these quiet ideologues in the valley at that time.
Were they sort of the Jamaat-e-Islami or who were they?
Jamaat inclined, I would say, not necessarily Jamaat belonging to the Jamaat. Because let me also remind you that when this whole business started, no less a person than Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani referred to the JKLF boys as terrorists, And he refused to join in till he was summoned by the ISI to Nepal in early 1990. And they said that
you have to fall in line.
It's going so well, you have to join. And that's when the Hizbul was created and mayhem followed.
So these Islamic ideologues...
These ideologues were people who were funding the movement. Now, I don't want to name names, but...
why don't you name names?
Some of them are dead, some of them are still around or not around. But there's an interesting thing that, recently, I mentioned this to Dr. Farooq Abdullah. I said, people are beginning to say now in Kashmir that Sheikh Saab made a mistake in 1947.
Which is?
Which is that he should have gone with Jinnah. He should have gone with Pakistan. People are saying now. So Farooq explained it to me very thoroughly. He said, don't forget that these are the same Jamaatis who opposed it even in 47. And in 47, there were people who said, because, Sheikh Saab was a second or third generation convert, they said that this Sheikh is a Kashmiri Pandit, Nehru is a Kashmiri Pandit, and these Pandits have got together.
No, so I didn't understand. So if the Jamaatis, the Jamaat-e-Islami in 1947 did not want to go to Pakistan because
they wanted to go to Pakistan.
They wanted
to go to Pakistan.
Okay.
It was the Sheikh who
stopped that.
Who stopped it, yeah. And that is the point Farooq
And today
was,
again the Jamaatis are...
saying that it is that pro-Pakistan lobby. I don't know if people in Delhi understand it or they deliberately want to ignore it because some of them are with Delhi today. So that,
No, so today they are saying that Sheikh Abdullah
made a mistake.
And he should have...
committed a blunder. We should have gone with Pakistan.
But hasn't that been the story of Kashmir in a sense for the last 70 odd years? Whether it should have gone with Pakistan, should have remained with India, or now a lot of people saying that it should be independent. Isn't that the story of Kashmir?
It is the story of Kashmir. It is the story of Kashmir. See, as I see it, as somebody who worked there, who's been involved for a long time, and I think it goes back to Panditji's time, that what Delhi was trying to do throughout in Kashmir was to gradually mainstream Kashmir, get the idea of Pakistan out of their head. Sheikh Saab had said very early in his relationship with Panditji that, after he became Prime Minister of Kashmir, that if you want a plebiscite, because Panditji had committed to a plebiscite.
Right.
So if you want a plebiscite, I can get it done. This is the time I can get it done because,
he had the
I'm
authority.
all powerful. Yeah, he had the authority. But people here didn't know, dilly-dallied. And I think one of the biggest blunders in Kashmir was the arrest of Sheikh Abdullah. That is something which you hear repeatedly over and over again.
But can I bring you to the present, Mr. Dulat?
Yeah.
Which is 70 years later or 73 years later, and ask you, Article 370 was revoked. It's been 3 years now, 2019, August. How has that changed and in Kashmir today? And what is that, if you talk about the present, what is the situation like?
You see, 370, when the revocation took place, I spoke against it, I wrote against it. And my point was very simple, that there was nothing in 370. 370 had finished in 75 when Sheikh signed that accord with Indira Gandhi. Everything was gone. And Sheikh had said that accession was irrevocable. So there was nothing left in 370. It was only a fig leaf. Why did we want to deprive the Kashmiri? That was my argument. But now that it's done, I've said since that it's done, it's dusted, and the Kashmiri is gradually reconciling to it.
You think that they are reconciling?
They are reconciled to it. They are reconciled to it. The only question is the Kashmiri today craves peace. But peace with dignity, the Kashmiri doesn't like to admit defeat, He'll lie down, he'll get up again, he'll pretend he's dead, but he'll again get up. So as long as you assure him that he's not defeated, that we are with you, you're with us kind of thing, you're a part of India.
Mm-hmm. But can I, your book, you have a couple of strands here. You've always been in favor of dialogue, reconciliation.
Absolutely.
And now you're talking
no
also...
way.
And now you're also indicating that the government should allow the Kashmiris to save face, as it were, right?
No, it's in Delhi's interest that Kashmir saves face.
Right. Like in the rest of the
Otherwise,
country.
Kashmir will always remain a trouble spot,
But
and it will always give an opportunity for Pakistan to fish in the troubled waters here.
But when you say that Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, he said to you one time, you were talking at the Gymkhana Club and both of you were chatting about Pakistan and Kashmir, and he said to you, and I thought it was an interesting remark, when he says that, Mr. Dulat, that you and me, we can both resolve Pakistan together if we feel like it.
That's right. That's what he said to me.
And what does that mean?
And, there are, like the Kashmiri, I say, there are so many layers within layers of the Kashmiri. Ajit Doval also has a lot of layers within layers.
Of course.
So there was a time that he was at a loose end. He had finished his tenure as DIB. He didn't know what his future was. That was the time that he also set up the Revoking Foundation. And I was one of the first invitees there, He invited 4 or 5 of us for lunch and asked our views on how to set it up. And I said, Ajit, anything that you set up has to work. So that lunch at the Gymkhana Club, actually, he did say that, if you and I were to work together, we could sort out Pakistan. And his point was that, he knew how to use the stick, the tough line, and with my softer sort of thing, the combination could possibly work.
But so that's how I'm trying to connect it with Kashmir. Do you still look at, as we did in the Vajpayee years and subsequently in the Manmohan Singh years, of the Kashmir issue as a triangle between India and Pakistan? So you remember there was the old school which said that conversation between Srinagar and Delhi, Srinagar and Islamabad and Delhi, sort of like a triangular stool. But that's over with 370, with the revocation of 370, that's over, right?
Yeah, it is over. At least in Delhi's mind, it is over.
So this conversation with you and Mr. Doval, yeah.
So we have come then exactly where we wanted. I thought we were already there, but now we've gone further in, what is it called, getting the Pakistan out of the Kashmiri mind. And Pakistan is not an issue today in Kashmir.
What does that mean?
That means there is no love for Pakistan. There is a group, there will always be a group, There are still people who, with that bent of mind, mostly Jamatis.
So in a sense, the revocation has worked then. The fact that you revoked 370, stripped away that fig leaf, actually clarified the Kashmiris and their mind about Pakistan.
That's right. That's why I've sometimes said the muscular policy has worked. Yeah? But you can't leave it half-baked, whatever we are trying to do in Kashmir. Because if things are, the situation is favorable, then I think the status quo is not good enough. We need to improve on it. And that can only be done politically. That's always the fallback position. Yeah?
So stage one, you would feel that the Doval doctrine or Prime Minister Modi's position that you have to deal with Kashmir, ruthlessly, if you like, tough. Say with toughness. That's worked.
Yeah, toughness has worked. I admit that. But toughness, that is history will decide or will tell us how long it will work or not work. But the point really is, I don't believe that it is really the solution. The solution will only come politically. Otherwise, we will not have a solution.
What does that mean? Does that mean dialogue? Does that mean elections? What does that mean?
Yeah, obviously, elections. Revival of the political and democratic process. You remember 96, as things began to improve, it was the 96 election, three things happened at that time. Narasimha Rao was a smart prime minister. He realized, for one, that this governing through Delhi was not going to work. We needed a government, elected government. And this governor's rule was enough, 6 years was enough. So we must have elections. And initially, the National Conference was not prepared for an election. So it took some time to persuade Farooq to come around and say that, okay. So he wanted something, as Farooq always says, that, we must have something to go to the people with.
Right.
And that is the time, if you recall, that Narasimha Rao made that famous thing that if the Kashmiris want autonomy, then the sky is the limit. Whether it was directed at the National Conference or in his own mind at Shabir Shah, I don't know. But it satisfied the National Conference at that point of time.
But today,
it gave them an excuse for all right.
So today the
Delhi
question
is willing to be reasonable,
yeah,
then we will participate in the elections.
So today Delhi, having done stage one post-revocation.
I think that they've done 1, 2, 3, but they should do 4, 5, 6,
But the question is, even if they do 4, 5, 6, and if point number 4 is elections, the question is that today you have the opposition in Kashmir, whether it's the National Conference led by Dr. Farooq Abdullah or Omar Abdullah, or the PDP led by Mehbooba Mufti, and the other smaller parties, they seem to be united under the Gupkar Declaration.
That's right.
So how do you see this? I mean, I think the BJP tried very hard.
This is a point which I think Farooq has played it very smartly. He is a very sharp, very astute politician. People think that, he's very casual about things. He's not. And I think he's played it very well. And he's said to me more than once that the question today for us is not accommodation. It is togetherness. We must get together or we will perish.
So get together with the National Conference with the PDP and with the other smaller Kashmiri parties against the BJP? Is that what you're saying?
Stick together in the interests of Kashmir.
No, stick together.
To save Kashmir.
Right, but against the BJP.
Well, you could put it like that, yeah, in a sense, against the BJP, if the BJP is not willing to be reasonable. Now the question is, and that is the big question in Kashmir, that if there were to be elections, would the Gupkar Declaration hold or not hold? And here, I think, nobody has a clear answer. If you ask me, I doubt if the National Conference and the PDP will go together. Much as that would be the best thing for Kashmir. But then the best things don't happen in Kashmir.
And yet you say, Mr. Dulat, in your book, that Dr. Farooq Abdullah's father, Sheikh Abdullah, said to his son, to Farooq Abdullah, that politics is about jumping into the jhelum and swimming upstream. It's akin to that.
Yeah.
But Farooq Saab said to you that, listen, that's not my game. My game is to swim alongside the current. And I'm paraphrasing you, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
The point that I'm asking is that if Farooq Saab, who has repeatedly shown again and again and again that he's Kashmiri, he's Indian, he wears his multiple identities very smoothly. Now, in today's India, remember that he is the Member of Parliament from Srinagar, having been under house arrest for more than a year after 370 was revoked. What are his thoughts today about being a mainstream Indian politician working with Delhi and the BJP?
Farooq understands very well, and I think Kashmir and Kashmiris understand very well, that he is by far the tallest leader in Kashmir. And he understands his responsibility, that now I have to do whatever I have to do in the name of Allah for Kashmir. And I would go a step further, whether people agree with me or not. I think he is the only Muslim leader of substance in the country. There is nobody else. So, and this people used to say was true of Sheikh Saab as well.
But how does he ally with Delhi?
He's always been with Delhi. Like you said yourself, that he doesn't like swimming against the tide. He will be with Delhi. He's always been with Delhi.
But
it is Delhi that doesn't understand him. When has he not been with Delhi? In 84 or when before Sheikh Saab died, 81 actually, it was, to put it exactly, October 81, that Mrs. Gandhi went to Sheikh because his health was failing. And that please decide on your successor, and there's nobody better than Farooq. And then Sheikh Saab made the announcement. Mm-hmm. And yet in 84, the next blunder took place when they dismissed Farooq. No, and as you know, B.K. Nehru, who was Mrs. Gandhi's cousin or whatever, refused to do it. So the hatchet man from Delhi, Jagmohan, had to come to dismiss Farooq.
So the hatchet man, we'll talk about his role in 1989 when the Kashmiri Pandits left the valley and came to, to other parts of the country. But I just want to ask you, if you're saying that Farooq Saab has always worked with Delhi.
Always.
So today, in today's situation where elections are held and it's not a question of if, but when.
Yeah.
When elections are held in Kashmir, will Farooq Abdullah and the National Conference ally with the Delhi party?
I'm sure they will if necessary. But it'll all depend on when elections are held, what the election arithmetic is, how many, who has how many seats. Last time, Mufti Saab had no option. But Mufti Saab had already decided before the 2014 elections. He was so excited at the parliament results in the 3 constituencies in the valley in which National Conference lost all 3 seats, that he thought that now the BJP will come and I will ally with them and everything will be hunky-dory. I attended Mufti Saab's swearing in on the 1st of March 2015. And all the who's who of the BJP and the RSS were there on the dais with him, and there was much hugging and whatever. And when the whole lot left, Mufti Saab gave that interview. You remember?
Yes, where he thanked the Hurriyat and Pakistan for allowing the elections to be held.
Pakistani. Now people don't understand the compulsions of a chief minister in Kashmir, and yet Farooq could never have given such an interview.
But the point is that if
because
Mufti...
he's far too savvy a politician. He wouldn't do something like that.
But having said that, if Mufti Saab or his party, the PDP, allied with the BJP, because the BJP got 25 seats in the Jammu region, and he got 25...
28 or something, whatever.
And he got a majority in the valley.
Yeah.
So he believed that he could be the bridge between the BJP and the Kashmiri political parties, the PDP. This is in the 2014 election.
Yeah.
Today, going forward, 2023 or whenever elections are held.
I feel now it will not be before 24.
Do you feel that the National Conference could ally with the BJP?
If a necessity arose, possibly. Possibly.
And this is despite the house arrest that Farooq Abdullah has been through, his son Omar Abdullah has been through, their family.
You see, the thing with Farooq is, and this is unique, that he forgives very easily, but he doesn't forget, So it'll all be there. I mean, he was promised in 2002, Delhi was very keen to shift Umar from Delhi to Srinagar and brings Farooq from Srinagar to Delhi. For what? In what position? And they promised him vice presidentship, but it never happened. And I remember Farooq especially called me to his office in that summer, I think it was May, and he was very serious. He usually never called me to his office. We always met at home, and he called me and he said, "Tell me, is Delhi serious about, is Delhi going to make me vice president?" I said, "Of course. You've been told that." I said, "You've been told that by Brajesh Mishra in my presence. And I'm sure the Prime Minister has told you, the Home Minister has told you." He said, "Yeah, they've all told me, but I don't trust Delhi. I don't trust Delhi." And if you recall, there was an interview he gave to Saeed Naqvi subsequently, in which when Saeed said that, "What is the problem in Kashmir?" He said, "The problem is Delhi doesn't trust us." And he was then a union minister at the center.
The question is that today, after the humiliation that he has suffered at the hands of the Modi government, been under house arrest for more than a year, his son under house arrest for more than a year, his family not allowed to meet each other, would he be willing to overcome this humiliation and still ally with Prime Minister Modi's party?
See, let me put it like this, that there's no love lost today between Dr. Saab and Modi ji. But trust can be built, trust can happen if the BJP were to extend a proper warm hand to him. He's willing to understand. He's a very practical politician.
He's willing to...
I'm not saying that I'm not suggesting, please don't get me wrong, that Farooq is ready to do a deal with the BJP. He would much rather have an alliance with the Congress. The obvious alliance in the next election is the National Conference and the Congress. Mm-hmm. But if the Congress doesn't get sufficient seats in Jammu, and the National Conference is left isolated in the valley, then they may have no option but to go with the BJP.
So let me ask you about Pakistan. You also, you're saying that today
Pakistan has been a spin-off as far as I'm concerned. I'm not a Pakistan expert. It's been a spin-off from Kashmir. One thing leads to another. And that's why when I suddenly got invited to Pakistan in 2010, there used to be what was called the Balusa dialogue. And Salman Haider said to me one day, "Miyan Lahore chaloge?" मैंने कहा लाहौर कैसे?
Salman Haider, the former foreign secretary.
Yeah. So he said, मैंने कहा आप तो यूं बात कर रहे हैं जैसे कि
बस पकड़ के
आया ने मार के जाना हो. तो बोले हम ले चलेंगे. तो मैंने कहा मुझे वीज़ा कौन देगा? बोला हम दिलवाएंगे. And so it happened that I went to Pakistan for the first time. And then I went to Pakistan, and I am the only,
a former former chief of India's intelligence agency.
Yeah. And I've been there 4 times now. Twice on that Balusa thing. Once with, I think it was Pugwash in Islamabad, and then in Karachi it was that Aman Ki Asha.
But but when you were in Vajpayee's PMO, the Prime Minister then, Vajpayee ji himself, he went to Pakistan. You never went at the time.
It's a peculiar thing. It's a good question that you asked me, because the Prime Minister and his party would travel all over the world in the 3.5 years that I was there. And I was not really interested. But when they were going to Pakistan, I got quite excited. And I went to Brajesh and I said, "Sir, आप सारी दुनिया घूमते हैं, मैंने कभी नहीं कहा, but why don't you take me to Pakistan?" So what he said actually, I think, was very significant. He said, "बड़े मौके आएंगे अब, and but not this visit, not this visit." And that is when I realized that obviously there was a back channel on at that time.
This is January 2004 when Prime Minister,
January 2004.
when Atalji went for the SAARC summit, and then there was a bilateral meet as well with Musharraf.
That's when I realized that there was a back channel on, and Brajesh was very optimistic that things would move.
But cutting forward,
obviously they wanted things to move. Even Agra, I can tell you, I was not at Agra. I had no business to be in Agra, but when they came back, and I talked to Brajesh, he was very upset. He said, "Yaar, hote reh gaya," and he was smoking away. And so it was.
But hote kaise reh gaya? Who did he put the blame on?
He put the blame on the Pakistani diplomats. He said they played it wrong. They put all their eggs in the Vajpayee basket, and that put too much pressure on the Prime Minister. And therefore, he came under pressure, and the others around him said no. The interesting thing about the Agra summit is that everybody talks of it as,
and yet it was Advani ji and Ashraf Jahangir Qazi, then Pakistan High Commissioner,
that they were the one who conjured this whole thing. But I feel and I believe that actually it was a much smarter operation between Ashraf Jahangir Qazi, Brajesh Mishra, and George Fernandez. And Advani ji was being used without realizing that he was being used.
No, but even if Advani ji was being used, the fact remains that...
Yeah, he was all for it.
He was all for the Agra,
absolutely,
the reconciliation.
Not only that, he was the one who suggested that Musharraf should be invited.
So do you think that Musharraf played it badly? Because you also in your book, you say that in Pakistan today...
No, according to, as I say, I'm only banking on what Brijesh Mishra told me. He didn't put any blame on Musharraf. He said, he was actually implying that the High Commissioner and Abdul Sattar, who was then Foreign Minister, he felt that Sattar, who had been posted twice in Delhi before as High Commissioner also, should have known better that,
But can I flash forward to 2015 when Prime Minister Modi goes to Lahore to attend Nawaz Sharif's granddaughter's wedding, when he flies from Kabul to Lahore. And that was, I think the whole subcontinent was completely gobsmacked by that visit by Prime Minister Modi. To put yourself in the hands of the Pakistani intelligence, I'm sure you've got your own security guys around, but you sat in a Pakistani chopper, flew from Lahore to Raiwind, which is the Nawaz Sharif's family home. That must have been quite a significant event.
Obviously, at that point of time, Delhi was, I think, thinking or inclined to move forward with Pakistan. If you recall, even for Modi ji's swearing in.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah. Mia Sahab was invited. And, at that time, I was getting phone calls from Srinagar saying that you're inviting everybody from around. Why not Mia Sahab? So I passed the message on to the powers that be.
In Delhi.
And they seemed, okay, but what if he doesn't come? If we dish out an invitation and he doesn't come? So I spoke to somebody in Pakistan, a diplomat there, and he said, no, don't bank on Mia Sahab's coming. He'll not be able to come. He'll not be allowed to come. And then finally, I asked my friend Asad Durrani.
He's a former ISI chief.
Yeah, and he said, I see no reason for him not to go. If he's invited, he should go. He will go. And that's what happened.
He came.
Yeah, he came. And then again, we dealt with him quite shabbily, snubbed him here, the foreign secretary. Remarks were made which were not necessary at that point of time.
And
if we were beginning a new relationship.
And last year, when the 2021, the ceasefire on the line of control...
now things have changed.
No, but that agreement to renew the ceasefire on the LOC...
is not interested anymore. I don't see any interest in Pakistan anymore.
Why not?
I think Delhi feels much more powerful, much stronger. We don't. Pakistan doesn't matter. It's of no consequence.
So then how is the ceasefire along the LOC, the line of control between India and Pakistan in Kashmir, how is that renewed in 2021? There has to have been a back-channel conversation.
Oh yeah, sure there was.
What was
there are all kinds of stories on that back-channel. One back-channel was apparently between senior intelligence officers on both sides. And the second was that possibly Moeed Yusuf spoke to Ajit Doval somewhere. But my own gut feeling tells me that if there was a back channel of any substance, it would have to be between Bajwa and Doval.
And you think there was Bajwa, the former Pakistan Army chief, and Ajit Doval, you think there could have been some conversation?
I think there must have been.
So let's move forward, Mr. Dulat. Bajwa is no more the Pakistan Army chief. There is a new army chief. There is a new Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif. Elections are going to be held in Pakistan very soon. Nawaz Sharif, who's outside the country, may come back. We don't know how things will unfold inside Pakistan. But do you see that the revival of a conversation with Pakistan could take place? Do you think things could improve inside Kashmir? And do you see that the two are linked or no longer?
I don't know if I should be saying this, but if there is to be a revival, it should already be happening in London.
Where Nawaz Sharif lives? Okay. You mean
Is that not a possibility?
You mean between India and Pakistan there could be some sort of a back channel with Nawaz Sharif?
If I was interested in Pakistan today, I would devote a lot of time to London.
But let me ask
Because Mia Saab in London still calls the shots.
So let me ask you, when Article 370 was revoked in August of 2019, do you feel that there could have been a back channel at the time with Pakistan? Because really, if you think back, there wasn't that much action inside Pakistan. Of course, there was the usual critical commentary. The Pakistanis were deeply unhappy. There was a lot of fulminating.
No. In fact, both the Kashmiri and people in Pakistan were extremely disappointed at the sort of position that Imran took. That he didn't say very much. I mean, he did the usual this thing that we don't accept this, and for us to move forward, then this 370 has got to come back and all that. Everybody knew that 370 is gone. And that it got me thinking at that point of time, because, I've always thought of how India and Pakistan can move forward. And I thought that now Pakistan is in a bit of a jam. How are they going to explain this position within Pakistan? And then something struck me. If you recall, Musharraf used to say time and time again that whatever is acceptable to Kashmir and Kashmiris will be acceptable to Pakistan. I think this is the most reasonable statement any Pakistani leader has made in my memory. So I thought of that and I said, if the Kashmiri is getting reconciled to the revocation of 370, then what problem can Pakistan have? Yeah, that's what the Kashmiri wants or accepts, then we accept it too.
Yeah.
Of course, it's easier said than done, but I was trying to think what could help Imran out of this.
Well, on this note, Imran Khan is no longer Prime Minister, but as you say, there's always a new day, a new dawn. And I'm just going to show your book to the audience again, A Life in the Shadows, a memoir by A.S. Dulat. So do go out and buy it. And thanks
a lot, but all we've talked about is Kashmir.
And that's
I keep on blabbing Kashmir.
And that's been a large part of your life, Mr. Dulat.
It has.
Thank you so much for speaking to me.
Whatever I've become in life, I think I owe totally to Kashmir.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to ThePrint. Thank you.
Pleasure.